Ronald. Thank you, Ronald. Good morning, everyone who is on this platform. I am called Coach Grace Kermondo, the Managing Director of Polamix Farm. I'm a married woman, married to Mr. Kermondo Gilbert. I'm delighted to be here to share my experience with fellow farmers, intending farmers, and everyone willing to listen to me. Polamix Farm started way back in 2011, though actively with my direct engagement started in 2015. From a humble beginning of about 3 acres of fruit trees and with intercropping, Polamix Farm has tremendously evolved into a fully fledged commercial farm where we currently have planted about 6,000 non-fruit trees. We have over 4,000 fruit trees.
Grace, I think your voice is a bit unclear.
Sorry?
You could just speak a bit louder.
Are you getting me?
That's better.
Are you getting me now?
Did you want to share your screen with the PowerPoint? I don't know.
Yeah, I can. If
Okay, you could just share a screen so that we can see what you're speaking
to. Maybe later.
Okay,
maybe
no
later
worries.
I could share later. Yes, I would love to focus.
Please go ahead.
On the communication. Yes. So as I was saying, from a humble beginning in 2011, but actively in 2015, where I directly now participated in Polamix farm activities, we have transformed from about 2 acres to 3 of non-fruit trees and intercropping under, and currently we have about 6,000 non-fruit trees, and then 4,000 fruit trees. We are doing livestock of piggery and goats. Currently, we are having about 500 animals on the farm. We have ventured in beekeeping with about 150 colonized beehives. And then we also do fish farming. We have 7 ponds that are stocked with over 25,000 fish of different sizes, table size and young ones. So we do other activities apart from this. Also, we do trainings at the farm where people come visit the farm for exposure, and other businesses like value addition of our products. So I can say it's from a small beginning, but we are transitioning into bigger things. My journey from the bank to being a commercial farmer or doing business in agriculture did not start just by the time I was going to the farm. While at the farm, I realized that I needed to do something bigger for my family. I needed to change the status of our family. And definitely I wouldn't do it while at the bank. One, because I didn't have the full authority to make a decision there. And I am being controlled there. So there are so many issues that was going on. And then while at the bank, even other people, the customers, noticed my potential. And someone would come and ask you, why are you in the bank? Robert has come to bank. Why are you in the bank? Why don't you go out and do something? They were not specifically talking about agriculture, but they looked at me like someone who can do business and succeed. Though in my heart also, I knew that if I'm to do something outside the bank, I can succeed, because personally, I knew the level of commitment I put when I want to do something. So all those factors, and while there, I was reading these documentaries, the money harvest, and then I would see how farmers are doing also well, how they are progressing, and given my background that my family also participated in farming, though at a subsistence level, where my parents engaged in farming, and we saw the yield. It was a large family. We saw how farming kept the family. My father was a civil servant of a lower position, but he was able to pay so many people. Why? Because the farming factor contributed a lot. So already I had that mind where I'm coming from, and then they're telling me, and the condition I am working under. And then I started visioning, if only I can put this time into my own, how far can we go? So my husband he's a visionary person. He had I think the love for farming too. So he started the farm actually with the help of a few people. And by that time, I did not give it much attention. But I realized that he was facing also a challenge, facing challenges in managing what he had put. Very little, but he started it. So I started picking interest. Said, why don't I start helping in the farm? Because my weekends, I was free over the weekends. Then I discussed with him, why don't I be going up country over the weekends and supervise the farm activities? You never know. But in my heart, I knew if I'm to put my time there, it will work. By that time, it was not working. And then he just okayed it. So every weekend, from 2012 now, every weekend I would leave one way. I pack my clothes, come to the bank, work up to 5, freshen up from the bank, straight to the bus stop, board, and come to reach maybe at around 5 or 6, depending on the speed. And then from there, I go to the farm straight. So I would spend 2 days. That Saturday, the whole day I'm in the farm with active engagement of either planting or something is being done. And then on Sunday, I board in the night, reach Kampala 5, goes home, prepares to come back by 8, I'm in the bank. So I kept on doing that. Even my colleagues didn't know what I was doing. But most of my weekends, unless there's something important that would hold me, I was up country. I was in the bus, moving, trying to see that things work. Now, that process of moving 1 year, full year, 2 years, I started seeing changes in the farm. Remember, we had planted something that is long term, but we are intercropping. The yields we started getting from what we were intercropping, the fruit trees with, were really amazing. So I started getting energized because I started even comparing what I'm earning and what we are getting from the farm. So after some time, it became hard for me to hide some of these things because I needed markets. We had put some beehives of about 10, and we started getting products I needed to bring to the market. So I started with the bankers. I would come with honey, and they would ask, where is this thing coming from? And I would say, it is from my farm. Grace, you're just joking. A few of them, I think even not any of them believed that it is true. They thought I was just trying to make money, maybe getting these products from someone. But I kept on telling, it is from my farm, it's from my family. So after some time, the farm started growing because every year I was doing something. In the second year, we had expanded to about 10 acres of fruits. And also now started a bit of non-fruit trees. And then I remember there was a time I called because at the bank, I was transferred from where I was working to, I think, customer service. And they needed now my full attention, even over the weekend, meaning my movements were shattered. I could not visit the farm. So I was now using the phone, trying to give instruction, do this, do this. You plant, and then they would tell me, oh, we have planted. When you send someone on the ground, you realize there's nothing done. So out of, I think, frustration and anger that was coming, I called one of the staff who was also working on our farm. I told him, why do you lie? You told me you've planted the nuts, but they are not planted. And he told me, you woman, if you want farming, you leave Kampala and come to the field. Who do you expect to do for you the work? If you think you want to do farming, then come and do it yourself. You know, at that moment, it sounded sarcastically, it sounded discouraging, but somehow it energizes. Okay, it made me realize that this thing cannot work on the phone. I need to go for plan B. So I started planning for my exit at the bank. Exit at the bank now would need me to leave my job, would cause me issues with, I think, my parents also, because I had just completed my master's. I had not even worked for a year. We had just graduated, and then in 3 months, 4 months, we want to quit. So it was a tough decision. How do I tell my husband that I want to quit? So I needed to start with him. And then when I told him, the way I'm seeing myself and with the passion I've now developed for the farm, and then the outcome we are seeing at the farm, I think I'm going to resign and relocate to the farm. He was actually shocked. He said, what? I said, yeah. We did not finish the conversation that day. So after 1 week again, I brought the conversation back. I said, I am resigning. Then he said, okay, let it be your decision, not because you're compelled that you need to do something to support the family, maybe you being under pressure. If it is your own decision that you want to relocate to farming, then I am okay with it. I will support you. Once he said that, I was done, because he's the only person I needed to consent with that at that moment. So when I came to the bank and dropped my resignation letter, it was another hurdle. My manager, knowing very well the human resource policy, that I don't deal with him. I deal with the human resource when I need to get out of the bank. Now I wanted to block my exit. But good enough, we had a thorough person in the human resource, and she backed me up. They called me what the problem was. They thought I was shifting from one bank to another, or I got another employment. They proposed the salary increment, but I had already made my mind. I told them, thank you. I'm going to do my homework. I'm going to do family business. I am not going to another bank. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate everything you've done for me. So that's how I was released. I had to relocate to Navy. not in every town, on the farm. So when I relocated to the farm, I already had the time now. I had the time to participate actively on the farm activities. I gave it time. I was there to plan for the activities. I was there to direct the activities on the farm, decision making. I had all the powers to make decisions that can drive this farm. And being someone who did not do agriculture, honestly, for you to go and start big on the farm, it's not easy. And that's why I said that we started small. From the time now I arrived in the bank, I had to introduce something else because I realized I had too much time to only grow cereals and fruit crops. So that's when now I introduced the piggery thing. The piggery started with only two pigs that are all female. And then a few days, another villager came around and saw me with two pigs, said, "Hey, I also have some piglets. Can I give you?" I said, "Please." So the pigs were just roaming around the farm. But you know, out of those four pigs, the first production, the first batch they gave us, they were about 25, I think 25, 26. And that one already changed my mind. The fact that in 1 year, from these small piglets that I got, I am able to get all that. Then I said, I think there's business here. Let me now start doing it properly. So you find every activity in the farm that would go on large scale, we would first sample. I would first sample and see whether it can work. And most importantly, before we would engage in any project, I first do extensive reading. You know, in Uganda here, it's not easy to just go and see things and you think you'll find the best, especially in a group in farming. So I would read because I had the time, first of all, and then I started consulting people. I get your contact, whether online, I will call you. How does this work? If I wanted to do this, how do I do it? So, and that is how we ended up introducing all this. But someone will say that, how can you have all these things at one place? And then you're running all of them effectively. First of all, I said I had my vision. I wanted to transform family. I wanted to see things move. I have passion for people. I realized that this farm would actually change the lives of so many people in my place, which it's doing now. I realized that I cannot rely on this long-term activities. The trees, the mangoes they were taking 5 years. The trees, like some of the trees, we have not even harvested because our goal is to have them as our long-term assets. So how do we sustain the farm for the meantime that we are not able to sell the trees? For the meantime, we are not selling the fruits. So that's when you see that we introduce other activities. We introduce goats rearing, and the linkages in all this is that we have now all these trees that needs to be maintained all the time. Why don't we put the goats under the trees to graze there so that they help us with the cost of maintaining? But at the same time, we are getting something out of the goats. And then when you realize the environment is very conducive for bee keeping apiary, And then when you look at apiary, this is something I don't need much time on it because you're not feeding it. They feed themselves. Your work is to maintain their area, check on them, and you're able to fetch your 10 million, 20 million from it with less work. So as time evolved, I started I have done a lot of crop, but when you go to the farm now, we are scaling down on. We even hardly do crops, except that in area that we are just opening, like we are opening coffee, about 30 acres this year. So we are intercropping beans to push the coffee. But otherwise, active growing of crops, I've moved away from it because now I am trying to see things that will take less of my time, but very profitable and easier to manage. Whereas at the beginning, it was not the case. At the beginning, everything was good. So concerning my journey, for me, I believe it's for someone to shift from that corporate world, from being employed to earn to self-employment. You need to plan it first. I am not going to tell someone, stop your work today, stop your job and go to and do business somewhere. Go to the farm. No. While you're there, start planning. While you're there, start evaluating what I'm doing here. Can it take me far? Is my future secure with this? While there, learn what you want to do. Start reading. If you want to engage in any business, do research while you are there at your current employment. And then when time comes, you can even start small while you're at your what? Your current employment. You're trying to test the waters. Because it's nice to be out there, but you know the future is not certain. So naturally that fear is there. So how do you overcome that fear? It is a gradual process of trial and error, testing the waters by doing while you're there, and then definitely you will start comparing that whatever I'm doing aside, is it worth it? And then you compare with your current job. And with that, you now get to decide, should I really quit? Or I can even run them. You know, people do that. You at your current employment and then you're running. But of course, even at point two, it becomes inevitable because you will retire. We have seen people retire and then pick their pension and literally dumping in active trade. And then someone within with less than a year, the business has collapsed. Stress come in, disillusion, and the next someone is sick. So we are saying let's plan our exit. If you can do it when you're strong, it's even better because it gives you time to do something for you. For me, that's what I can say. Because you know the time you put there. You know the time that if you put it in your own, what can you do? But it requires a gradual process. That's why I said it was gradual. Till at certain point, I realized what I'm earning from the farm can pay me, I think, one harvest can pay me, I think, for the whole year. And from that time, the issue of money was not a very big issue for me while I was at the bank. Because already I had some side income. And even it is one reason that helped me because now I developed that relationship with my fellow workers. When things became tough, I didn't have any off. I had my salary that I would literally lend everything. And, it is a two-way. You're helping someone and someone feels, I think, indebted too. to support you. So when I say, please, you stand for me for just 2 days, someone is willing to stand in, and I'm there. They didn't know about how I'm running to the farm. So as I said, that is okay, literally how I transformed from employment to being employed to self-employment. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, Grace, for that for sharing with us your journey. There are a couple of key messages which come through from your conversation. I think you made it clear that start somewhere, start small. I think that's a message which came out. You talked about the process of experimenting and making sure. I think for me, I captured that 2012 year and the question which you asked about really having to travel to Nebi and arriving 5 in the morning every day for a period of a year, every Friday. I think that's such it's a test, and many times for those people who find themselves in employment, sometimes a tough thing to do, because giving away that whole weekend for a consistent period to even just test whether this works is in itself a challenge. And I think that's a message which I captured here. You talked about having conversations with the family members, and I guess I'll have a couple of questions about that later. But I think for me, what came out clearly is that it has been a journey of close to about 10 years now. And that journey is one where you start seeing the fruits clearly after a while. And I guess that's a fundamental message to anyone who is listening, that it takes time. It takes time, but you have to get started if one day this is to happen. Habasa, you have your hand up. I'll give you a chance to ask, and then I'll those who would want to engage with Grace, please go ahead and engage with her and ask a question. So Habasa, please go ahead and ask your question. Yes, Habasa, over to you. Habasa? Habasa, I can see you unmuted, but I don't seem to hear what you're saying. Let me ask Paul to ask as Habasa sets himself up. Paul, or both, please go ahead. Paul, go ahead. Paul, or both,
am I clear? Yes, am I clear?
Yes, we can hear you, Paul.
Thank you very much for the opportunity given to me. For me, what I've liked or what I've really got from her conversation, not the 2012, not the time of start, not starting of, maybe that's starting small. For me, what I've gained is organizing our life towards the long-term jobs we have. At the moment, she has given us a very good view of her starting off small. The question that I would ask, or the question I have for her, one, how can we get maybe the documentation or the simple, more about the small start, either in a documentation or a video, to enable us also understand and have it in view? Because when we read, or when we read, it gets us understand more. Where can we get maybe the books or the documentation to enable us start also small and get more skills from that? Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I see. Thank you, Paul, for those comments. Isaac, please go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you, Paul. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Isaac.
Yes, my name is Isaac Mugisa. I'm a pig farmer as well. I started my farm with 1 pig, and I would love to report that I now have 12. Grace, I would want to inquire how you have managed the issue of cash flow. As a person who is actively doing farming, I sense that the bigger the farm grows, the bigger the issues to do with feeding costs, which is an area that has to be managed actively. The more pigs you have, the more number of cages they consume per day. How have you managed the issue of cash flows? That's number one. How have you managed record keeping? And then finally, Ronald, if you may let me, how can we have an opportunity to receive some bit of maybe a personal direct mentorship, maybe online from Grace? Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Isaac, for those submissions. Grace will respond to those. I think in terms of linking up with Grace, that should be possible. But I think you raise a good point. Can we be able to connect this further? And I think that's the aspirations, or one of the aspirations of the business recovery series, and we see how we get that going. Habasa, please go ahead and ask your question. Sorry, I think Habasa is having trouble connecting. Let me see if we have some questions in. Yes, Martin asks, what is key for successful beekeeping? What are the keys? I think Habasa is a bee farmer, but Grace, he's asking, rather, this is Martin. Martin is a bee farmer and he's asking, what are the keys to success, especially in apiculture? Habasa's question is this. What kinds of fruit trees are on your farm and non-fruit trees? What types of fruit trees are on your farm and non-fruit trees? And how much returns per category? I think here he's talking about comparing fruit and non-fruit. How are the returns coming through? Jennifer Opio, Grace, thanks for sharing your story with us. Concerning apiary, is it true that it can only be practiced in an area near water bodies, or I can do it on any piece of land? I think Jennifer is asking whether the piece of land she has, which may be a bit far from water, whether she can be able to practice apiary there. Let me have Eva, and then we'll have another round after that. Eva, please go ahead and ask your question. Eva Mbogo.
Yes, good morning, Ronald, and thank you so much. Grace's work has been an interesting one. It's inspiring. But I have a question about how she's managing the production costs, because I am one person also who has exited from employment and gone into farming. But one of the biggest challenges that I am facing is the production costs in terms of labor on the farm. While I am happy that I have the land, but the labor is becoming a problem. So I want to hear from Grace how she's managing that.
Yeah, thank you, Eva. I think Eva's question is in line with Mugisa's question about cash flows. How do you make sure the farm continues running? Yes, Grace, you can take those, and then we'll have another round after that.
Okay, thank you, Ronald, and I want to thank everyone who has asked these questions. The first person, I think, was Paul. He was appreciating, and then he was asking how he can get documentation to read and start something. That is possible. At the end of this session, I think Ronald will provide my contacts, and then also, for someone who is really interested in starting maybe a farm, I would advise that you make also farm visits. Because also me at the beginning, I had to go to people's farms to see practically, because with this, it does not stop only at reading, but you also need to know the practical bit, because for you to run a farm, for instance, a mixed farm like this, you need knowledge in both the crop growing and the livestock. So I still encourage Paul that it is interesting for many farms to compare. It's very important. Someone asked about cash flow, though he was trying to specifically look at piglets. I would like to handle this as a general. The challenge you get in any other business concerning cash flow is the challenge. So if any other person is getting challenges in their business, you as a farmer, you will also get these challenges. But how do you manage them? For me, I said when we started with long-term crops. Long-term plantation. For us to start getting money from those fruits, it took us about 5 years. We haven't even sold any because we're looking for the mangoes to grow up to the level they start producing. I told you that doing intensive crop growing under 50 acres of trees and 50 acres. So in other words, you're trying to raise money quickly to support, going gradually. We had to look for all other means. For us at the farm, nothing goes to waste. The piggery was being fed by what we have on the farm. The issue of feeds by that time was not because we are just beginning. Even you may not have the money to go and buy the feeds, but you have cereals at the end of the day for someone starting to start something. We didn't have even a house. The pigs died by that time. They were roaming. But at certain points, we realized that we need to now put, when they had grown, they had even produced. So, but basically, it is how you plan the cash of the farm. Before you go into something, first do cost analysis. How much will I need? I realized someone opens a farm. He doesn't know even where he's going to get the money to operate the farm. Just like any other business, when you start a business, you should have some capital to start up to push. But somewhere the business will start taking care of itself. So it is the same as the farm. As you grow, you're going to sell these things to take care of the farm, to pay the workers. So, and then for the, maybe specifically on the issue of pigs, the person keeping pigs, issues of cash flow. I know it's that right now it's not easy to keep actually pigs if you're not calculating. Why? Because the cost of feeding has gone very high. But now for me as Grace, I was rearing pigs for slaughter strictly. But from last year, I realized the cost of pigs went high. I have diverted. I am now doing both. I have pigs for slaughter and piglets. If I'm able to sell my 1-month-old pig at 100, 150 piglets, then why would I want to incur that cost of raising this pig to that slaughter size, that will cost me maybe about 500,000 even more.
Grace, we are getting, I think, a bit of a buffer
try
from you.
to look into
That's
that.
better.
If you can have that market that you sell, you dispose of these pigs as fast as possible. Fine. But also all this work with, when you consider other factors in your project, because them and give you the practice procedure, I would practice. Are you getting me? Hello?
That's a bit better. Yeah, but I think it was buffering a bit. You could just lose the camera possibly, and then so that we can get your audio well. So I think we have lost Grace temporarily. Let's try to get her back online. I think she has dropped off. Let's just give it a couple of minutes to just get her reconnected. Great. Okay. Yes, Grace, you're back. Please just finish those final thoughts and then we can get the next round of questions. All right. Grace, over to you. Yeah, that's better.
Yes. Yes, Ronald.
Yes.
Are you getting me now?
Yeah, that's better. That's better. I think the connection in maybe had given way. All right, I can hear you now.
You can hear me?
Yes, yes, please.
Okay, as I was saying, the person in piggery, try to look at doing both. Maybe if the feeding bit is really difficult, you can raise piglets. I know there are people who really want to do piggery at maybe small level, so they need piglets. There are organizations who look for piglets for their farmer groups. Like right now, I have, I think, about 40 piglets to be taken. But because I have the love for pigs for slaughter, raising pigs for slaughter, I still do it, though at a small scale. And then also try to supplement. Maybe, I don't know if it is only piggery you can also look into horticulture to supplement your cash flow. As the pigs are taking long, you're doing something small to keep giving you quick cash. There are crops that within 2.5 months, you're able to harvest. You could do beans, you could do watermelon, you could grow maybe tomatoes or cabbage, something that these are high valued crops, and you'll be able to, you can put on a small piece of land, maybe half an acre, 1 acre, to supplement something not massive, to take your time from your pigs, but it will be supplementing your cash flow. And then the issue of personal mentorship, it will be welcome. I think that it's up, Ronald, you can take up on that. And also at personal level, I've been helping people. People come to the farm. Currently, right now, I have about 37 farmers in the farm. After this meeting, I am with them. They are on exposure visit. We are training them. And you know, it's the joy you get when you see someone's mindset has changed just because you've spent with them a day. And they are able to make a decision that can transform their lives. So to me also, it gives me that joy. I feel I am in the right place. I feel I am transforming people's, and that is my dream. Because as I said, if eventually that thing of having almost everything on my farm drives me to the education bit. When I look at my people, first of all, around, I feel we need that place. We need people to visit that place to change our lives. The youth who come around are never the same. But always the perception about farming, people think it is for a certain class of people. But I believe a few have started now seeing the benefit of visiting that farm, of coming to learn. And I would love to see our pensioners that when you're transiting from your employment to self-employment, you have a place that you can go and stay, see what you can do, something not stressful, that our parents can live a life worth it even when they are out of employment. So the mentorship bit is there. I have always done it. So you're welcome for this person. And then key factors for beekeeping success. Ronald, just like, and I've always emphasized, just like any other business, the same principles you apply, first of all, the principle of managing people, the principle of cost management, the principle of production management, the principle of asset, and others that you apply in business applies, because beekeeping is a business. So before you're starting the beekeeping bit, you need to plan for it. Where am I going to put the bee? The bee project. Do I have the land? If I don't have, what do I do? So, but there are certain things when you're doing beekeeping that you need to put in mind. Mostly the place where you're rearing or keeping your beehives. Is it the best location? Do you see bees moving around? Because I know there are people, because bees have become bees, honey has become honey. You make beehives and just go and put. You've not even done research whether bees move around this place. You've not known the cost involved, the activities. So plan, learn, read about beekeeping, but once you put your bees there, take care of them. We have seen bees in the bush and no one is bothering to look after them. And then they are invaded by insects. When you go to harvest, you find nothing in the beehives. So the care you'll give your bee project is the one that will also determine what you will get from them. I also want to handle the other issue of water currently with this. How, when you have the bees, how are you processing? We've seen farmers using the rudimentary ways of, you go and burn the bees, you do what? Something you're doing as a business, you need to do it in the right manner. We like shortcuts because you want to get the honey very fast. Go and do this, but process your honey well, store them well, package them well if you've reached that level, and you will definitely get market. If you don't have water, just like this person said, bees can be kept in any place so long as bees are there. You can improvise water. Get your bucket, drum, can put some stone in them, put water, and place around. Identify whether the area has forage, food, because they need food. Do do they have trees around that flower? Are they the best flowers for bees? Sunflower around, plant some spider grass. There are other trees that are good for bees. So you can put that, just matter of planting around, and they will grow by themselves. So, but for me, I see beekeeping is one of the less stressful projects that someone can, so long as if you can have someone who can look after them, or if you have the time to look after them, you'll definitely get the bees. Treat them well, they will give you honey. And then the types of fruits and non-fruit trees we have are, for the fruits, we have mangoes on larger scale. I think we have about 3,000 trees. And then we have citrus, about 500. And then we have all these other varieties in small quantity. We have jackfruit, we have brotherheart, we have avocados. Yeah, those are some of the fruits that we have. Meanwhile, for the non-fruit trees, we have eucalyptus, we have pine, teak, we have terminalia. Yes. And also right now, of course, we have coffee. We're also doing macadamia together with coffee. So those are and I think there was a question of how I didn't get the other question related to fruits, but if it was also on cash flow, I think it was about what we get from the fruit trees and the non-fruit trees. When you plant trees, especially we are doing the improved breeds of mangoes and oranges. It took us about, though they started flowering earlier, we needed them to gain strength. We were destroying the flowering up to about 5 to 7 years is when they started fruiting. And the fruiting increased with time. The harvest we get this year is not the same with what we'll get next year because the branches are increasing. Now I want to give example for the mangoes that we are still selling. We started selling around May, and we are still selling mangoes. Now for the mangoes, you realize we get about I think 20 tons plus. But to get we do not have a place where you can take mangoes and they buy them at once yet. The market that we get for buying at once is not attractive. So that's why for me, I prefer packing my mangoes and it is delivered to someone who has connections and they are taken, because I know there's someone buying our mangoes and taking to Rwanda. I know our mangoes are being consumed in the western part of Uganda. So, for instance, one mango tree, you can get about 500 mangoes on it. So I want you to look at that matrix, that if you're selling one mango at 500, and of the 500, you may find about 300 of them will be good. Maybe 200 for certain reason may not be good, or it does not reach, just only 300 mangoes, and then you sell each at 500 or 300. So meaning from 150,000 shillings. So that is the bit I can give you on the fruits we have. The non-fruit trees, we haven't started selling yet, though we have always continuously put things under the non-fruit trees. Like right now, we have pines of about 17 acres and it is all covered with cassava. But of course, if I'm to cost whatever trees we have right now in terms of cash, it is huge. though it is not a current cash flow yet. We are still using other ways, other portfolios to sustain it. And then production costs, especially labor. Of course, labor is a challenge. And as I was saying, it takes us back to managing people. When I started farming, I realized the the hardest hurdle was how to manage the workforce. Because for you as a visionary person, you want certain things to be done, or there's a way you want them to be done. But this person, because for him, it is hand to mouth or a short-term vision, he's thinking of something else. And that's why you will say you give assignment, we are doing this per day, maybe at 5K or 10K. Someone is coming just because he knows it is per day, and they will relax. They will find every tricks to dodge your work so that they work less but take more. So as time went on, I started also learning how to deal with these people. My first strategy I use is to first draw these people closer to me. I identified some people we started the farm with. I brought them closer. I made them to realize that this farm also belongs to them. And there are certain times that I don't have money to pay them immediately. But because we have developed that relationship where we feel we are a one family, they would work even when the money is not there till I am able to get money. And then it's a bit easier for me to negotiate a relatively cheaper cost compared to someone who comes once in the farm, because they know at the end of the day, there are some little benefit that trickles down to them and they are able to commit to work. So we need to try to change our strategy one of how to handle these people. If you realize per day is tricky, right? Like right now, because there are too many at the farm, and per day needs serious supervision that you're following the person so that he's not running away and hiding somewhere, then comes back later. So what we do, we now work with measurements that, well, your area is this and this and this is, we have actually even rates. So when you come to the farm, you're briefed that this one we do at this rate, this one we do at this rate. So they evaluate. It's not a very low rate and also not very high, something that is a win-win situation for us all. So by the time someone comes and starts doing work, they already know. We've had issues that a farmer will tell someone, come and work. They have not even negotiated. You start, we shall talk later. Those ones can cause issues. Why? Because when they finish, they will realize that, okay, the work was hard and I have now finished. It is either you winning or them, because it may even become a fight. So plan for the labor, look for all other possible available means. If you cannot use the human, go for the tractors. If you have a flood plan, your work is to do research, where can I minimize costs? Where can I do better with this workforce? Are they the human beings or ox plow or what? So let's not remain static where we are. Let's explore all the available opportunities so that we are able to manage these cost issues, because it is true, it is a killer for us right now. I think I can stop here for now, Ronald.
Super. Thank you, Grace, for those submissions. I think we possibly have time for one more round of questions. For those who may want to ask, please go ahead and ask. I've seen a comment here from Dr. Gonsha. Payment per measurement makes a lot of sense. Yes, That could be a method which can help you in your journey. Let me just check if there are any hands up. If you wanted to pass a question to Grace, please go ahead and just raise your hand, and I'll give you an opportunity to ask. Grace, I have a question here, and this one, yes, Isaac, please go ahead and ask your question, and then I can ask the one which I have here. Isaac, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ronald. I just wanted to amplify probably what someone on the chat said. Number one, thank you so much, Grace, for your time. And thank you, Ronald and Enterprise Uganda for this initiative. Grace, what challenges have you faced in the piggery unit? What have been some of your shocks? Because I'm sure there have been some of those. The fact that you receive very many people coming to your farm, how are you handling biosecurity and the challenges brought in by a large number of people coming into your place? That's number one. Number two, business registration. What stage would you look at registering the business, and what advantages come with that? And then finally, Grace, what is your long-term vision for the piggery unit? Where do you see yourself in regards to numbers? What numbers are you looking at achieving? Are you looking at some value addition along the value chain? Thank you so much. I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Ronald.
Super. Thank you so much, Isaac, for those questions. If there's anyone else, please just raise your hand. We'll give you an opportunity, or just go and put your question in the chat box. We will allow you to be able to do that. Grace, my question points to the dynamics, especially at this point of transition. There is a moment there where it's a complex balance, especially from a family perspective. You had to start your farm in Nebi. You were working in Kampala at the time. There was that transit which you needed to do. But what tips can you give a family which is kind of battling with this decision? Usually when families are transitioning, you hope that one of the spouses can maintain the stability and then the other can possibly venture out in business. What tips do you give a family which is going through this? How should they think about transitioning, and how can they be? You clearly mentioned that your husband was supportive of your initiative, but just tell us, how do we get to that point where actually you stand with one another to be able to push an entrepreneurial activity as a business? The second issue which I wanted you to touch on is you earlier talked about working together as a family. How do you work with the relatives? My impression is that your farm is on your family land. I imagine there are relatives around. How do you manage that, especially in terms of employment? There are people who argue, should you give a job to a family member? Possibly not. Other people argue, no, you can be able to do they can be able to do a good job. What has been your experience, and what bits of advice would you give to someone who is going through such a challenge? Grace, over to you.
Are you getting me, Ronald?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Now, I did not pick the last question because I had a hinge on the
Yeah, I think the last
network,
question was.
But maybe I can start with the first questions of challenges in the piggery. Well, the challenges are there, and me, I am a live example coming face to face with some of the challenges. But of course, as I said, the challenges should not hinder you from achieving what you want. You can always get solutions to some of these challenges. Now, one of the challenges that I had when I started Piggery was distorted information. You know, when you don't go far with information search, you realize you have a very limited information in handling something. Out there are so many myths in livestock. Do you know that someone can believe that if you maybe assuming you tie something on your what? On your pig and there's the outbreak of maybe swine fever, African swine fever, your pigs will not be attacked, but the ones of the neighbor can. But just tying a cavera on that. So all those, I didn't have enough information and it was a challenge at that time. But I realized I need to read about pigs if I have to do pigs project as a business. So you need to get to know what you're doing by searching, by doing research and getting more knowledge on the piggery so that you're able even to overcome all these other challenges, because it is out of lack of knowledge or information is when you will allow everyone to go and visit your pigs. And from there, the pigs get diseases because people carry them along with them. So, but for at our farm, we have a disinfectant at the entrance, and we don't allow just anyone into the pig. We have so many farmers, but they can stay. You can come to the farm and even leave the farm without going to the piggery project. So you need to be a bit strict because you want to avoid issues of diseases into your farm. Of course, another issue is the challenge of high cost of feeds. High cost of feeds is a challenge everywhere. But then we are saying, let's strategize. Let's look at other ways that maybe we sell these pigs like this. And then maybe can you produce? You try to see if I produce maize, I am able to sell the other product and the byproduct for feeding my pigs instead of going to buy a kilo at 1,000. All those to try to manage because we need them. We need to do this business and we need to become smarter because the challenges will always be there. And then also, as I said, do research the source of your piglets, where you're getting them from. Don't just when I was starting, I didn't have all this information. I didn't have someone to talk to me about piggery at the beginning. I was bold to start. I told you I started with these 2 locals, but you, who is now going for this piggery as a business at this level that you have so much information, why don't you go for the best genes, look for pigs that will grow for you and look for the sources that are recommended so that when you bring your pigs and you feed them well with that high cost feeds, you're able to gain the size you expect or you desire at that exact time. Together with putting in place other good practices that will make you succeed. So the challenges are there, but we can always try to work it out so that we remain in business. And then business registration. Okay, long-term vision for the pigs. I told you my vision is for any project I'm doing is to have impact on my economic status. Now, I'm seeing that if I continue with these pigs, I am able to produce this quantity at this time. But my target as a person, in 5 years, I'm seeing that I am able to raise about 1,000 pigs in a year. Because right now, in a year, we can have about 300 pigs. By the time we dispose of and you remain with 100, so meaning that target is achievable. You may come to the farm and don't find 1,000, but when actually we have raised 1,000, so that is my target. Of course, now putting in other factors that initially my desire was to have pigs for slaughter, but because of this, some of the challenges we are looking at, I have really shifted from slaughter now to piglets, where we are raising piglets for people. And somehow I am feeling some satisfaction in it, because when someone comes to my farm, a young man comes to my farm and work, at the end of the day, when he's going, he says, instead of paying me money, I want to take 2 piglets and go and raise and start up my piggery. You know, it's a nice feeling. We are all winning. We are transforming the lives of some people, but at the same time, able to survive at the farm. And then the registration bit, we all know that business is supposed to be registered. If you're going in for business without registration, you're going to face a lot of challenges, especially now that government is interested in every business. So why not register? It is not a very hard process. And because the registration is going to enable you benefit from so many things in your venture, you go for it. Without a business, without your business being registered, no one is going to give you a loan to run your project. And yet you need it. Where will you get that 10 million to set up your project? Maybe the house, unless you've been doing. So we go to banks, but they need your business registered. And then there can be even some government initiatives. But if your business is not registered, how will you be able to benefit? Even customers want to come to registered farms to buy from a registered person. You're going to sell piglets to someone and they get problems there. They want to know how they can follow you legally made. So registration builds confidence in all the stakeholders that you're dealing with. It will create for you even market, because before I deal with this person, is he legally recognized? So I think the issue of registration is important. As just like any other business, register your piggery business or any farm business that you're doing. Dynamics of family, well, this is a bit complex because not all families are the same. And to have a family that understands you, that gives you all the support, I think it's a blessing from God. So I am blessed to have, because just as we said, the land we started on was not ours. My father-in-law allowed us to use, and that's why we honor him, that the name of this farm is after him and our greater grandfather, because of that. But I have always believed that if something is good and it's being done in faith, there will always be a way. Now, as I told you, before leaving the bank, I had to engage my partner. It is very important. The youth, okay, someone may not be married, but you still have your parents that who can assist you with. If something is good, I believe it will change the mind of someone. At the beginning, they may look at you that, where are you going? But you who has been given that opportunity, you need to also prove to these people that you've not made a wrong decision, because it is a sacrifice to allow your wife to be flying every weekend. And that is the time the family needs you, because the whole week you are in the bank, and then Saturday that they expect you to be at home, you're flying to go and look after the farm. So for me, I think, first of all, what is that thing that you're going to do? How does it impact on the family? How does the family benefit from it? In most cases, we individualize what we are doing, something for me. This is the family. Whatever project, whatever decision you're going to make, know that it will impact on the family. So put into consideration, I'm going to do. How will it affect my family? Will it benefit the family? It may not benefit them in the shorter run, but in the longer run, can it transform our life? You make it collective. You make everyone involved. You make the children involved. Because the children will get annoyed with you that every day you're leaving them. For them, they don't understand. But if you start at what you want to do, the benefit, eventually taking them to the farm, taking them to the business, they start owning it. So let's communicate to our people, our partners, our parents, to understand what we want to do. And if it is for the benefit of all, the better. After all, at the end of the day, you may go alone, but all of them will benefit. It does not go freely like that. There are challenges, there are issues that you will face. It may not be from your immediate family, but there are people who are not ready for change, you know. I remember as I was transiting, a lot was said, a lot was talked. How can you just leave the bank? How can you just leave your work when you've just completed education, your master's? This woman, I don't know what's wrong. They even think I was crazy. But I had that support from my immediate families, my in-laws. Imagine they would come to the farm, leave those nice things in Kampala, but when they reach there, they buy my food. They would buy my food and come back to Kampala. Someone lives for me 200,000, he has carried over 20 watermelon, he has mangoes, he has cassava. I even knew that they could not consume all of them, but they may give some to other people. But the fact that they want to promote me, they want me to feel motivated as family, that really impacted a lot. And up to today, I have their support. They've never doubted whatever I try to do in the farm. They are always there. If they get the chance to come to NEBI meetings. So as you prove, as you do something and it starts having impact, even maybe your partner who did not have that positive belief in you can start changing. At the beginning, it might be a bit hard. They will not believe you. They may talk words, but you need to remain focused. Because you're going there now, remember, that is where your pension is going to be. Here, your pension is cash, but there, your pension is now maybe trees, is now a business, is now over what? So if people's talks are going to derail you, then you will start losing direction. You will start hating people. I've never hated anyone. Even when I was talked to directly, you woman, what's wrong? My families, some of my distant aunties talking. I became very unpopular. But just after 3 to 4 years, everyone wants to go to live in the farm, actually. Everyone is struggling to go and live in the farm because the farm has fed them. The farm is employing their children. The farm is being talked about and they can't believe it has gone to this side. So, but if I was to give up at the beginning, and then we would have all lost it. So remain focused, committed, talk to your partners in a proper way. Don't dictate, make them come to understanding that what you're doing can change the lives of the family, not you alone. And if it is really they get to realize that this is focused in transforming our lives, they will definitely support you. Let's not be self-centered and try to work together with our families, involve the children, because after sometimes we shall not be there, but we want the farm to continue. So the children should be in the farm, the children should be in your business. They may not like it when they are young, but as they grow with continuous going there, I don't think there's any child of ours who does not like the farm. It's not there. And yet at the beginning, they looked reluctant, but we kept on encouraging them. Some of the holidays we go and live there. Some of the planting season we are all together there. They may not practice it now, but I know in their hearts of hearts, they love it. They can work there. During holidays, we have children that we are living with who work there. They are living in the farm. So for me, I feel how you approach it, how you put it on to them is how they will receive it also. So, and family is key, especially if you're going for something massive. Family is key because you need the push. Even financially, they will come in. Morally, they are there. They will give you support. There are challenges you hit and they give you advice. For me, I always refer back to my husband. What do I do here now? He may not be in the farm, but he gives me the advice I need to handle certain issues. So besides the negativity, you can translate, but when you start gaining, when you start proving that this thing works, when they start getting the benefits, it will work. And then issues of employing family. Yes, I have so many families in that farm. But first of all, the way we recruit them, I don't just go and pick someone. Normally, I use my parents, my father-in-law, and my father if I want anything, any person to come to the farm. So they know the people better than me. They do vetting, and then they will recommend, take this. Because as I go to the village, they will tell me, oh, madam, can I go and work? And then I go to him, this person, or to my mother-in-law, this person wants to go to the farm. What do we do? So that when I have challenges with them, I bring them back to them, to talk to them, because they have high regards for them. And with the youth, it is always ping pong. But we need them. We need them at blowing off the person. But when you realize, what benefit am I getting from this person? It's not that they are bad, they are productive, but some of their behaviors can cause you to, make drastic decisions. But I always refer them back. I send you back and then explain to Muse that this is this. They will cancel. If they feel that this person can go back to the farm, they will recommend. They will say, okay, we have talked to the person, go back, go and behave. But if they realize no, and then there are people who have also fired. Not all of them are. There are some relatives who are fired from work at the farm. Yeah. And then the fact that we try to bring these people together to us, we make them feel, actually we don't make, they are feeling that this farm is there. At this point, I'm not always at the farm. Why? Because with time, these people, some of them even know they work better than me. These are people we started with in 2012, 2011, 2015, up to date. We have 80% of them there. They have produced their children are even doing some small work within the farm. Now, that farm, they believe it is theirs. And we really feel their presence in the farm, that we try to work together with them, because now someone has taken over 10 years with you. Some even don't go to visit their home. So we have plans for them that now they feel. Others have even acquired land next to the farm that we encourage them to use. So all this is to ensure that there is that committed group of people that we have on the farm. But also we have people who come once in a while. And that's why we have over 30 people permanently seated on the farm. But on a peak day like this, where we are doing planting, we can have about over 120, 130 people within the farm working, but who are not living within farm, who have come from very far. They come and rent around and give us that labor. So they supplement the workforce we have and do all the work that we have at the farm. So working together as a family is very important. They become the security. We have not had issues of theft really so much, because they feel that this is their farm. Otherwise, with the way the farm is, something big and you cannot reach, but instead they are the ones protecting. And then even the community, because we have that good relationship with them, they are our second security to the farm. Thank you, Ronan.
Super, Grace. Thank you so much for that submission, particularly that bit about.
Hello, Ronan.
Great. Thank you so much, Grace. Thank you for that submission, particularly the comments about the need to work with family. It's a complex bit. Sometimes you have to do an investment on ancestral land, and how that is managed can be key to the success of an agricultural enterprise. A big thank you, everyone who has joined us. Grace, I want to just give you 1 minute to make any final remarks. There is a final question here, which I'll give you as you make your final remarks. And it's from Jonan. Jonan says, my question is, how are you managing farm inputs that are of good quality, and how do you respond to ensure sustainable markets here in Uganda? Great. That's the question from Jonan. So Grace, just give your final remarks and then we can wrap up the day.
Oh, the issue of inputs in Uganda is still a challenge. And really, are you getting me?
Yes, we're getting you. Grace,
the issue of inputs is a challenge in Uganda. And we farmers are really facing it rough, because you think you're planting the right thing, you think you're using and it is a big challenge for us all. And if only government can come in and work on these issues, the better. But still, there are few good sources of inputs that you can find. And that's why networking is very important. When you get onto farmers' platforms, you get to find that there's good sources of need to research. As I said, get to asking people, especially people who are doing what you're doing, where do you get your inputs? I know there are farmers who actually come together and even buy inputs, some from Kenya. They buy some chemicals from Kenya together as an lump sum, and then they share. So, and even beyond Kenya, some people import inputs and then use, because now if you're going massive and you're still going to insist on these inputs that you're not sure of, it can hit you out of the business. So as we said, the struggle does not stop. search for information, connect with other farmers, because information is there. People have succeeded amid all these issues of poor quality inputs. Get to them, and then lastly, I want to thank, as I have been saying, it is possible. It is up to you to make that decision. You know the situation you're in at your current job, and it is you who has the vision of what you want to achieve. If you think you can achieve it at where you are, well and good. But if you think I need to move a step ahead, start planning now. Start thinking along that line. Start developing passion for what you do. Because by the time you will be living, if you had it in plan, surely, however hard it is, you will persist. You will endure. You will put a lot of efforts. Many people have done it. You can also do it. So way between, and then you make that decision. And for me, as a banker, and then as someone also who has had experience from out, so long as you do not have that time to be on the farm, please don't inject your money, especially that big cash, into farming when you don't have the time to follow up the activities, because it will surely hit you hard. Maybe what you can do, maybe you can invest in some trees as you prepare, as you're learning, until that time that you're able to now focus, until you've made your decision now. So I want to thank everyone. I want to thank you for listening. I am open to responding to some of your issues that you may raise. And please get time and come tired. I've seen people making decision on site there to go and change their lives. Thank you, Ronald.
Wow. Thank you so much, Grace, for sharing your heart with us. I'm going to put Grace's contact in the chat box. Please do reach out to her on WhatsApp or on her phone. If you are passing by Nebi, please just pass by her farm and take a look at what she's doing. Grace, we are very blessed to have you today, and thank you for sharing.